You could have lost your life even though you never did a dang thing.
I would not have been where I am today if I just kept on the same path. I'd probably be either dead, in prison.
Polytrauma, collapsed lung, flailed chest. I know you had a badass brother, obviously.
There's a DV, there's car robberies. 1, 2, 3 kids die in a weekend in South Phoenix. I was using prestige and this position as a police officer to kind of fill that void.
Obviously, you're still here. You're free.
They took my badge, my gun, and removed me. I was silently suffering for 2 years.
You think you were gonna go to jail?
They put a freaking ankle monitor on me. My reputation that I built was just gone in like one day.
If you fear excellence, swipe away now. This is the Dr. Pena podcast, where high performers come to raise the standard.
All right, guys, welcome to the Dr. Pena podcast, the performance standard. I'm so happy to start this thing off, guys. First and foremost, this podcast is all about performance. Yes, I am an ER doc. Yes, I run multiple businesses, but I think I am just getting started. And honestly, I don't know shit about shit. That's the way that I wired. That's the way that I learned, is that I still need to learn more. And the best way is to talk to high performers, right? You talk to them, you see how they act, how they think, how they click. And at the end of the day, we realize that they're human just like you. So this podcast is for people who want to gain access to people's traits, their equalities, their standards, their processes, their plan, their approach, and hopefully you can take away and become a higher performer yourself. We're starting this thing off with a banger, guys. This guy's got a crazy story. You're gonna wanna listen from front to end. He started off fighting his life multiple times. First time in a huge motorcycle accident, polytrauma, collapsed lung, flailed chest, thoracotomy opening up his ribs. And he graduated from high school from the bed of Loma Linda, fighting for his life. Little did he know that was just going to be the start of fighting for his life. He became a cop down in Phoenix. He bled blue. He loved serving the city of Phoenix. He loved his life, and all of a sudden, it was gone. Indicted for 18 years for something he never did, for something there was no evidence found for. But not only indicted, he put himself on the line in the jury. He performed. He let truth bleed through. And I couldn't be more proud, because there's one more kicker in this story, is that he's my brother. He's my blood, Sean Pena. Sean, thanks for coming on the podcast. Welcome, man. So how's it being back in the city of Phoenix? I'll let you get a couple of moments to try to.
I would say it's good, man. I really appreciate bringing me on the podcast. The introduction is great. Man, yeah. When you say all that, I kind of realize, yeah, dude, I have gone through a lot. It's pretty crazy. And now where I'm at today, seeing how it's shaped me, molded me, changed my direction, those pivots that God puts in your life, really, man, it comes full circle. Seeing where I am today, owning multiple businesses, working with you, and just really crushing life now. So it's pretty cool, man.
So let's give the viewership kind of a little bit more insight on who you are, where you came from, your origin story. I know you had a badass brother, obviously, all jokes aside, but talk to me about where you grew up, what you were doing, and give them a little bit more insight until the high school accident.
Yeah, I mean, Southern California, born and raised. We kind of grew up in the hood, moved to a nicer little area, but Christian foundation, biblical-based foundation, was going monthly, like to Mexico on missions trips, was going to Poland, Japan, all that. And it was really my foundation. Growing up, going to high school, I played baseball, football, was swimming for a little bit too. So it was all in sports and everything. And then once I was kind of done with that, you kind of mentioned my motorcycle accident. So I was driving a motorcycle in high school. Well, this lady turned left into me. I had to lay my bike down, slid for about 100 yards and ended up under a minivan. And what's crazy, man, I just remember, last thing I really remember is like in the actual ambulance driving down. But right before that, I just kept on saying my mom's phone number over and over to some stranger. So literally the ambulance that took me, they knew me because of service that I've done in the past with them. My mom was at the hospital beforehand, and even then they sent me, I mean, you know better than I, Loma Linda Hospital. I mean, the lead cardiothoracic surgeon that was there was working on me, which is insane. So there's that. I mean, God's hand was on this tragedy from the beginning. And I will say, the viewers don't know, I was a kind of a, like, I don't know, douche in high school. Like, I was just partying, trying to drink all the time, getting to girls, and not on a good path, that I believe. And, you know, it's funny how just God redirects you. And some people, he just knows, like, you know, sometimes people need a little more of a push. And that's definitely me, I guess, because we'll get into more of the story about the indictment and being a police officer and under siege like that. But some type of people like me just need a bigger push, you know. So
it's a little bit more about this story. It was a very bad day when I got a phone call. I remember being at my buddy John's house and we were just playing video games. We were doing something and got a call from my mom. And the first thing she says, you can tell she's trying to hold it all together, but she's like, Sean's okay, but he's in the hospital. That's all I know right now. And I just book it out to Loma Linda. And I just remember I was at Biola. It was my second year of college. I think it might have been during the summer where I was off from college. But I remember being home and only being a 15-minute drive. And when I got there, it was just a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of just don't knows. We know he's in the OR. We know he had chest tubes placed. We know he had a flail chest. He's getting active blood transfusion. This is when I knew nothing about medicine. So from this story, not only what you gained, but that was my first insight to emergency medicine, and why I'm an ER doctor today is partly because of what my brother went through. Because everybody, from what I now know is that everybody had a game plan. When you came in, they didn't know anything about you, but they all performed. They put in chest tubes. They probably decompressed your lung, and they got so much bloody output that they knew you had to go right to the OR then and there to find the bleeder. And I do remember finally getting to your room and you're still intubated. There was so much emotion into that. And through that, the whole stay, and then you graduating from your bed while everybody else, all your buddies are partying and doing all this thing. You're literally stuck to your bed because you can't even move still. What a crazy story. So what'd you learn mostly from going through that? Not only that is, I guess, having that moment and that sensation of like, this is part of my story, this is who I am, but not being mad at the other driver because it was probably their fault because you laid your bike down. And gathering later intel is they probably didn't flash the blinker on to let them know that you're turning. So you probably rear-ended them and then you rolled your bike down instead of flipping over, but you probably rolled for about 50 feet.
No, so it was 100% their fault. There's insurance money involved that I actually bought a new Ducati with,
which pissed me off so much.
So this lady just turned left into me. She didn't see me. When you're driving, you don't register bikes very much, and you're only looking for cars. And when you're not thinking 100% about what you're doing, that happens a lot. Actually, and being a police officer, I saw it a lot. People turning left into motorists, but. Yeah, man, the main thing that I always remember that I learned from that experience is how much your body physically can take. Sitting in this bed and having tubes in your throat, multiple tubes going down in your throat, in your nose, and then having IVs in your legs, in your arms, both arms, being strapped down to the tape, basically down, because every time I got lucid, I would try and take the stuff out, I guess. And then towards the end, I was 100% there, and this thing was still breathing for me. I would suck in a little bit and it would push air into my lungs. Every freaking time that it did that, man, my ribs just felt disgustingly painful. I mean, just super sharp pain all over. And luckily they didn't have to do any chest plate or anything like that. I've got a scar from here to here. It's crazy, but they cut me open pretty good. But I was in that hospital for so long and in that circumstance for so long and thinking man, there's no way I can go longer. There's no way I can go another night. Just in this pain, there's no way. And then you just figure out yeah, you can. There's so much more to be had. I would say 99% of people, 99.5% of people do not realize the physical aspect of things. You don't reach your potential. You see David Goggins, right? Dude's an absolute legend and a beast. He's part of that 0.5% that taps into that. And the dude's running ultra marathons and just destroying his feet and just ridiculous. And coming out of that, I just had a different type of pain tolerance. It was like I knew that I could push through physical, and then it turned into more of mental too. Like just getting into your mind like that, it changes the way that you think. It changes the way that you operate, the way that you process information. That stuff comes into your life. And I call it almost mental manipulation. Like it's like you see something and then you can like deduce everything from that bad action that's coming towards you and realize if it's actual danger or you're just afraid.
We're finally out of that ICU, intensive unit in Loma Linda. You technically graduated, high school, even though it was from a bed.
I barely graduated. My GPA was like 1 point something. It was ridiculous. They probably did me a favor of just giving me a diploma, whatever, because they felt bad that I was in the.
I went through enough. Just give it to me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I hated school. I didn't like people telling me what to do. I was just absolutely not focused whatsoever. Being in there is what redirected me. Seeing the helicopter, I don't know if you remember, the helicopter was literally right outside my window, and I would see it land. And the EMTs, paramedics coming out, nurses coming out and wheeling people out. And I was like, that's really cool, man. So I got into, by God's saving grace, I got into this like academy thing to get into Crafton Hills College as an EMT, like right out the gate. So right after high school, they were able to put me into an EMT course, finished that, became an EMT in Riverside, ran that for a little bit, became a paramedic shortly after, and then on to police. So it was just bam, 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 EMT, paramedic, police officer. And it just happened quick.
So what made you make the transition from, because years ago it's EMT medic, there's a little bit of transition to becoming a cop. What kind of made you go down that route?
Well, I tried to go to GCU for nursing. So this is when I was 18, still living with my parents, making decent money, and became a paramedic. And then you said, you know what, actually Arizona, AMR is who I was with, American Medical Response. They were doing like some type of promotion for me to go out there. They paid for my lodging and gave me a pretty good pay increase to come out to Maricopa area, which is Phoenix. So I moved out, and Grand Canyon University took me for some reason. I mean, if you pay enough, I guess anyone will take you. So I went and I was going to go for nursing, got halfway through when I realized, you know what, like this school thing, I just can't get along. EMT, highest scores, paramedic, highest scores, because I know, okay, I'm doing this for a purpose. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is actual information that I'm going to need and want to use. I'm helping people here. And that's another thing that was just ingrained in me in life in general. The foundation that we talked about, like in Christianity, it's like, service, sacrifice. That's like pretty basic level foundation that was just ingrained in me. So I just kept on chasing it, man. I felt spiritually led towards it. So that's why I was kind of going towards at least that way. Didn't make it through nursing and just dropped off, and Phoenix PD was just hiring one of the highest paid police officers in the nation. Looked really good. It was a really high level of standard that they held, and there was a really good opportunity for advancement,
So you fell in love kind of with the area too. You then went to the academy, right? Can you talk to me about the academy a little bit? It does say here that you were the number 1 Phoenix recruit. So talk to me about your performance in that.
Yeah, there was multiple. Actually, it wasn't just Phoenix that I went through with. It was Phoenix, Gilbert, some DPS that were in there. But it's the Phoenix Police Academy. It was actually the first year they just rebranded it. So I wasn't the top recruit out of the whole class because I messed up on one of the agility runs where they go back and forth or whatever. I messed up on the pattern of it. So I had to not take the highest physical, even though if I just didn't miss that, I would have been the highest recruit altogether. But I decided it was fun. I mean, it was eye-opening for me. People just yelling at you all the time. It was kind of like a paramilitary type, academy. Very short, obviously, and you get onto the street right away. So going into that it was just a good time. I mean, I knew what I was doing, that I wanted to serve. And this was just like paramedic, means to an end. I will put my 100% into it and I will do the studying. I will look at this ARS book that's like almost a Bible size and figure it out, which I did. And I became the the top Phoenix recruit. So they basically go off of those standings. So you get to decide where you want to go from there. And I just told them like, hey, aside from my ability to move up in the department, who needs the most help? Where are we going to go? Like I want to get into the shit, to be honest. Like I want to be able to be effective and make a difference. Where can you send me? And they sent me to South Phoenix.
So you kind of had that servicehood back in childhood with going on missions trip. What drew you as far as the specific service? Was it kind of the drug scene or what exactly in South Phoenix drifted you kind of there?
I mean, South Phoenix, it was like the fentanyl craze when I was in there. So that's just what it was. I mean, there wasn't really, there's a DV, there's like car robberies, there's everything under the sun in South Phoenix. I mean, it's not the best area, obviously. There's crime-free multi-housing, there's a bunch of things going on. But what drew me more towards drugs and like doing the DEA task force, trying to go undercover, doing all this stuff for that was like the upbringing for me in Mexico. Seeing all those kids growing up, we would go monthly to Mexico. I sponsored children myself as a high schooler. And it really did something to me, seeing Mexican kids that are right out of high school trying to make money and they get abused or just used as like a plug, basically a slinger to someone that's gonna sell like these perk 30s, these fentanyl pills, and they end up getting just a bad batch, and that's microdose, so it's ridiculous. And they just, I mean, 1, 2, 3 kids die in a weekend, and I'm just in these guys' backyards, their moms just like laying over their dead bodies. It's like, man, this is an epidemic. It's something that's really close to my heart, and I was 100% dedicated to getting it off the streets. I was going after the suppliers, going after the actual people that were moving large amounts of it. And I was making headway too. It was really kind of coming together.
So you were kind of in the shit, doing that, find the supplier, I guess, type of thing. And it leads you to big hitting people with a lot of power. And I'm sure your name kind of got brought up in their realm. Like, who is this freaking Pena officer who keeps getting in our shit and keep getting in our way? So your connection with Mexico, with these kids, kind of made you draw into fighting this fentanyl epidemic. That was super bad. I mean, we're in Phoenix, in South Phoenix, one of the worst of the worst, right? So talk to me about the people you met as a cop. You're in these years. Everything's going well though, right? Like you don't take it home. You love your life type of thing as a cop.
Yeah, I mean, I was married. I got married like right away to my wife, and we were living in the cookie cutter house and everything. We bought a house, got new cars, got a dog, and everything was working out pretty dang good. I was one of, or if not the highest performing police officer in my beat. Every time they would show us a report of, hey, end of the month, who's at the top numbers of arrests, who's at top number of reports, citations. I didn't give a crap about citations. I didn't really even care about reports. Mine was the arrest, the felony arrests. I didn't arrest misdemeanors. It was mainly just felonies. And I had one just about every day. And I was pushing into more of the specialized, like in fentanyl, specializing in narcotics and going after that. And yes, I was on a list. Like my street sources were telling me, hey, they know who the heck you are. And when he says they, it's like the Mexican mafia was 100% infiltrated into there. They were just running these little kids in different gangs to do whatever the heck they wanted. And it's a lot more intricate than that. But I was going after, I can still tell you the names, addresses, cell phone numbers, and information on family background on 3 of the main drug dealers that were in that area, in 19th Avenue and like Southern area. And it was a good time. I felt like I was really succeeding. That void in my life that I was looking for to fill in service, sacrifice, danger, and just actually put my life on the line was getting filled. And I kind of realized that, I was off base. I wasn't walking with the Lord. I wasn't actually diving into my faith at all. And I was using this prestige and this position as a police officer to kind of fill that void. And you know what? God kind of saw that I wasn't gonna, just like before with the motorcycle accident, I wasn't probably gonna move myself because I was making headway. And when that happens, man, he kicks you off the pedestal pretty quick and can get you on the right line. I mean, it took a couple of years. Now I'm on the right line, but yeah, definitely.
So this is the tough part. Let's get into the indictment. I guess before that, what kind of were some trigger alarms that you're like, what is kind of going on here? Talk to me through the path from you becoming a cop and then essentially indictment day, or the day that you realized you had to fight for your life and you were in this thing.
Yeah. I'll start out with like the spoiler alert. I didn't do it.
Obviously you're still here.
Yeah, no shit.
You're free.
Yeah, man, I'm free. Been free for a little while, so it's great. And I will say I'm free now because I felt like I was not free. That 2-year span of crap that I had to go through. Man, being a police officer, working the beat, working fentanyl, this female came forward, said that I sexually assaulted her. Right, I was taking her to the jail after taking her down for like a $20-something thousand warrant that she had. It was a felony warrant. She said that I sexually assaulted her while I was taking her to the jail, and it went for review. They tested her DNA like right out, did the mouth swabs, did everything that they needed to do at the jail. Sat me down for my interrogation. I was like, oh, you know what, dude, just take my freaking DNA.
Yeah.
Like, let's handle this. Let's go. It's done and done. They did it. And it's funny, they found like 2 other guys' DNA in her, but obviously mine wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So they're like, okay, you know what? Done. There's no way that this could have happened. You're free to keep working. That was the trigger. And I was like, oh man, that was a weird experience, man. Like, okay, I never left the street. I was still working the whole time. And I just had this like thing over my head, but it was like, you know what? I mean, I know that I didn't do anything. It's not a big deal. Just keep on hitting the street as hard as I can, and it didn't faze me. Just kept working. Then I don't know how long it was after, another female came forward with similar accusations that apparently didn't know each other. They thought that they didn't know each other, but they obviously, in the end, they had connections, and one man was behind the whole thing. But for this lady, they immediately took me off the street. They immediately put me on leave. They took my badge, my gun, and removed me. And I was just kind of like sitting there like, what the frick what just happened? And at that point, I had an attorney involved. So as a police officer, you can choose to join into plea, which is the police officer union, whatever. And I was in that. They put someone forward for me, and we looked through all the information, and there's a police officer bill of rights that you can see everything that they have against you. But the thing is, when it comes to criminal investigation, you don't have to respond as a civilian, but you have to respond as a police officer. So I had 2 different trials, basically, like right off the gate. One was the criminal one that was going to last forever. Another one was for my job that needed to happen within like the week. So I reviewed everything that they had, sat there with my plea rep, sat there with a lawyer as well, and went through it and sat at a table just like this and just talked through the whole thing with them. And 100% was just honest with everything that I said, walked through everything that happened. And at that point, there was news articles that started coming up about me, and my face was plastered all over the news, which was one of the hardest things for me, man. My reputation that I built, that I put 100% effort into, was just gone in like one day. After being removed from the police force, my face is on the news now in Phoenix. Millions of people saw those pictures of me. Just to have this, I don't know, forum of people that were like deciding if I'm going to be a police officer again was pretty insane, man. I just, out of the blue, and it happened in like a span of 1 week, just coming into that with zero understanding.
So now you're basically left with nothing though, right?
From that point, hits the news, another female comes forward, and then they're just like, oh, nope, you're done, fired. No income. And then obviously all my friends in the police department at the time, and these guys are the guys that you actually bled with. sweated with, like you're actually working with, just gone. Any inner circle that I had was gone. My income was gone with the new house.
And you bought a house, you have a wife, a dog,
cars, everything. And I was just sitting there 1 week into this. Everything is gone. And, you know, it's really hard not to just crawl up in a ball and just sit there until hopefully it goes away. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, as a bigger brother, I mean, there's been a couple of times that as a big brother, you're always supposed to try to help out your little brother. But I just felt so helpless. I was like, there's nothing I could offer to make this better. Not only through the time that you're on the hospital bed, but this whole thing made absolutely no sense. We talk about in lives where there's situations that absolutely make no sense. You want to bring up Epstein, you want to bring up Charlie Kirk. For this made absolutely no sense to me. I couldn't make sense of it, but when it doesn't make sense, you know the devil's heavy at play. And this couldn't be more spot on in this whole situation. We're going to try our best to make sense of this, but you talked about one man kind of pulling the strings in the background. I think there were multiple kind of going through the back of it, but this is a heightened political climate. This is a time of not only COVID, this is George Floyd, this is BLM, this is defund the cops, right? So there's a lot of pressure for people sitting in those higher seats to appease the crowd, to get votes. So it does make sense in that sense, right? When you think about it outside, this guy was on the hit list because he was so good at getting fentanyl drug dealers out of the streets. He was very good at his job. He loved what he did. But can we talk about how the people behind the camera kind of make sense of all this?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's this one guy. I say one guy, but yes, you are right. There's guaranteed that there's multiple people behind it. This Reverend Maupin guy, and I don't even want to call him Reverend, actually, just this Jared Maupin dude, a civil rights activist, really shady dude. Dude's got a felony record, is always in front of the TV, making money off these people that come forward with accusations or any injustice. You know, there was a couple of things before this incident that I kind of remember vaguely. I think that Phoenix cop that kicked a leg or something, and they sued over that. Jared Maupin got a cut of that lawsuit. He brought those women forward, put them on the steps of the Phoenix Police Department's main headquarters, and did his thing with the media. And lo and behold, they sued. They got a settlement like right away, and he got a cut of it. Pretty insane. And also, I mean, skip to way later on when I got a lawyer that actually like started pulling all the strings and figuring things out. She's the one that figured out, hey, Maupin met with all these ladies before coming with accusations. Mm-hmm. All of these ladies, you're saying that none of them had ties, but here definitely you are, silver platter. Like, this is all coming together now, you know? And then again, for being on a hit list to working heavy in the drugs and everything, it was pretty crazy to see, okay, Maupin has pretty dang good ties with South Phoenix, as well as the drug community in that area too. So kind of just laid it out there. Once we kind of figured that out in my trial that we'll get to, it made sense. Definitely made sense.
So before talking about the trial, I wanted to talk about your performance before going to trial in regards to having an anti-victim mentality. I'm sure you're very sad for a little bit, being like, why the heck, God, is this happening to me? But talk about those days until you finally flipped the switch and said, there's nothing else I can do besides what I can do myself. So talk about your first business in the cabinetry while you're at home with an ankle monitor on too.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Like, they put a freaking ankle monitor on me. Like, you won't know until this happens to you. When someone puts a tag on you, you feel like a freaking animal. It's so demeaning. And that thing can just like, there's been like, I didn't really know how to work it at first, and the battery went low and it just starts beeping off at you, you know? You can be out and about. It's just like, that's just so demeaning, you know? And having that on you, that mental game that you're playing with and you're trying to get out of every day, and then just having that daily constant reminder of an itch or an ache on your ankle sucks, you know? And in high school before my accident, I mean, I broke my ankle.
It was the same ankle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And they put it on that one, even though I asked them to move it over. They said, F you, I don't care. Whatever. So I sat there and sulked for a little while. But like I said, God prepared me for this physically and mentally. When I was in the hospital bed from the motorcycle accident, I realized like, hey, I can take a lot more than I think. And I can get through things and I can understand things. Okay. So I see the situation. The cards are on the table of what I have right now. Control the controllables, right? You can't just sit there and sulk and worry, put that at God's feet. Paul says it best, like grace and peace. Sorry. With God's grace comes peace, and that peace and understanding, like you can just put that at God's feet, take your peace and start working, right? With clarity comes confidence, right? So if you're able to put that down and focus on the controllables, that's where confidence starts, right? So I was able to build that business, yes. But I will say God's hand was all in it, right? Our parents just ended up selling their house in California for a good chunk of change. They were able to front money for my lawyer. Like that just happened.
Because I didn't have any money to give you. I was $400,000 in debt, man, in med school. I was like, big brother.
And I didn't have money. I was just a police officer. And it was all going into the house and stuff. And it was like, dude, that chunk of change was just there. My dad was just like, dude, take it, man. Like, I'll give whatever. And that covered a lawyer that got me out, right? And the business side of things. I didn't know what I was doing. My wife wanted a custom piece of cabinetry for our dogs. Actually, I made it, threw it on Etsy, and had 30 orders within 2 weeks. And in Etsy, like your funds just get funded like that. It's like, okay, like let's figure this thing out. Let's do a process of figuring out like a assembly line of pumping these things out.
These things were so cool. But I remember coming back when you still had the house in Queen Creek. It's funny, you had just a little bit of backyard, just enough to make those things. And
this is an
HOA community, right?
And HOA community
making these cabinetry. The whole neighborhood could hear us. We're gonna get a call eventually.
Yeah, I remember like there's ring footage of my backyard of like 10 units, like just spaced out in my backyard, ready to be assembled to go out and get shipped out, And we were just pumping these things out. Yeah. And that turned into getting a facility, hiring more guys, pumping these things out, and just being able to almost like step away from it and not being at 24/7, business mastery, if you're doing something scalably, you're working on the business and not in it, right? Mm-hmm. And you're starting to move forward. That's why we're able to own multiple businesses and run them efficiently. Kind of school of hard knocks learning this, and kind of figuring out, okay, sales, marketing, okay, what looks good? Let's take pictures of each one. Let's get reviews from everybody. Let's actually get like video testimonials. You want to do a VSL, a video sales letter? Let's like start selling these things better so that we can get more profit, and have that steady stream of income, and just learning all this stuff, and kind of putting the same amount of effort that I put into the police department and drugs and going after people into, all right, I need to provide for my family in this crap situation. This is the only option, really the only option that I could have done. I couldn't go work for someone. I was indicted. Like, what am I going to tell an employer? I wouldn't hire someone right now that was indicted like that. I just couldn't. It's not good for your business. So that was the only way that it really could have happened, and it just did. God provided for that. And I made sure that I put my due diligence into it. You went from that cookie cutter house into our very nice home in Queen Creek now that had an equestrian center on it. Like we changed out cars, upgraded cars while I'm under indictment. And I had a PO, a parole officer that was like watching me, while we're doing this. And she's like, dude, what's going on? Like usually when people get indicted and they do it, 98% of people do it. Mm-hmm. And she's like, usually they go off the deep end or like, you'll kill yourself in this time. I'm like, that's just usually what happens. And you're actually like excelling. Like that's pretty cool to see. And it was all God in that situation for sure. Yeah,
it was definitely a transformation. I remember coming back, and each time there was always something new when it came to your business and the cabinetry. It was like the first time that you got into your facility, it was like, okay, we're adding this and this, and he has plans for that, and he's hiring people. I was like, this is awesome.
We put a second level on that thing.
Yeah, the second level. And you had pictures everywhere, and
Yeah.
it kind of gave you a way out to kind of maybe offload the mental stress. Obviously, entrepreneur is stressful, but if you're meant to be an entrepreneur, and you could always become one, but it's also very addictive too, in that it gave you kind of like a little bit of de-stressor where you can compete.
Yeah.
Which you did prior. Yeah. But I completely saw a transformation in your life throughout that. And this is before trial even happened. I think you becoming an entrepreneur kind of set you up.
There's a 2-year time frame that we're talking about, that I was wearing an ankle monitor from being indicted to my actual trial. 2 years. I had to sit here and just be quiet and silently suffer, carry the weight and not complain, and just keep walking, you know?
Let's go to trial then. So this is during COVID. And talk about, did it get pushed back, the first trial?
Yeah, trial got pushed back a million times. It always happens. There was COVID, and there's a bunch of things happening. So then we went through trial one time, and I had my plea appointed attorney, and then my dad fronted that money for a different attorney that started blowing everything out of the water. We took it to trial again with her. So the second time, yeah.
What happened on the first one?
First one, I think some of the charges were found not guilty for, but the rest were just not found anything on, and they decided to retry me on it. And I took the stand the first time. I took the stand the second time. I think I absolutely knocked it out of the park the second time, understanding like this is the game we're playing, and the prosecution understanding that they're coming at me with everything they have, and just really being no holds bar disgusting, and being ready for that the second time, definitely.
So let me just kind of paint the picture. For me, every time I went to trial, I mean, I was flying back from Miami to Phoenix, and thank God I had a program director that kind of understood. Obviously, I didn't miss any time during residency, still made it work. But it was this, I never felt a place of just spiritual warfare and so much lies, so much deceit. And the prosecutor for the defendant side, they were just disgusting lies. And I got so mad sitting in the stands. One time I had to walk out. I might have been looked bad on my part, but it was just frustrating me, pissing me off that my brother was going through this. And you just kind of like, not see, but just feel there's just spiritual warfare in that. But let's go into the performance aspect. The thing that I want to talk to you about specifically is, I mean, you have your life on the line. You could have not testified, put yourself on the stand, because one mistake, the jury's going to eat it up, right? One misword, one misfault. You have to think of how you could easily overthink how they're looking at you, how you're presenting yourself, because this could easily go sideways, even though you could have lost your life, even though you never did a dang thing. So to have the confidence, the clarity to put yourself on the stand, what was your thought process? What was your plan, your approach? Or were you just like, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to let God and truth bleed through me?
Yeah, honestly, we did not sit down and practice this. Like, me and my attorney did not whatsoever, either or. We just said, hey, they looked at me and they're like, hey, usually this does not happen. 90% of the time, defendants do not take the stand. Like, that is a rule. They looked at me, they said, no, you're going to take the stand. Like, this is 100%, we're behind you. We understand the circumstances. This sucks. You're going to have to do it. Cool. And yeah, it was weird because we didn't practice beforehand. We didn't do any type of mock thing. But for my understanding, I knew that, hey, truth is just going to come out. And the way that it comes out, the prosecution was almost overdoing it to the fact that you could see through lies and deceitful and manipulative words that they were using, as well as watching me sit there in a suit and tie, like straight backed, looking him right in the eyes while he's doing it under control. I think that painted a really dang good picture, as well as them understanding, like I said, I was silently suffering for 2 years. And they knew that during those 2-year sprint that I wasn't going backwards. I was moving forward, as well as I just kept walking. Like, I kept carrying the weight without complaining. They understood that, and I know they understood it because that type of person is someone that you can trust. Like 2 years of just straight taking it and listening to people just chirp at you in the background and still moving forward and making strides for your family and everything. That's a trustworthy person, if anything, right? So we let that do the talking in the background. And when he was asking me questions, it was really just, you know what, man, I'll answer you truthfully, and you're not going to have a rebuttal for it because it's the truth. And when you try and go off on tangents on little things, you look like an idiot because everyone sees through your crap. That's kind of the stance that we took with it. Preparing on my side of things, again, from the motorcycle accident to being indicted, this is still a 2-year span. I was learning a lot of things. God was teaching me how to stand through fire. I went through a crucible. There is a lot that I can take now, and there's not really anything that someone can surprise me with to where it knocks me off kilter and I won't shake. Seeing that, it just all accumulated into this one moment where I took the stand with this pudgy prosecutor with his little glasses. Yeah. Sitting across me, he's been spewing all this stuff. He just hides behind his words. And that guy just hasn't been in a physical fight since his bullies in high school, probably. And just understand, just 100% knowing that, I can come across that table at any moment and do something. But I didn't, having that restraint the whole time. I think that really stood out of an understanding for the prosecution because they deliberated for 5 minutes?
5 minutes. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So we're done through the second trial. We go home as a family, and before every trial we would pray. And that was kind of one of my, throughout this whole thing, is that's what we could control, is that we could control our faith. And we could obviously, have the most faith, but we were there and we were in those moments. And one of my favorite moments was the last day before your trial. I remember praying and we're all holding hands in the kitchen. But I did feel that kind of sense of just somehow with all this mist of chaos and justice, things that, this is when your name, the Pena name, is throughout not just Phoenix, but throughout the whole nation. I remember watching, this is when I remember I was in Miami and President Trump was on. And the next thing you know, I saw your name, the Pena name, this is crazy. But we were praying and I've never seen somebody perform like he did when he was on trial during the second jury. It wasn't performance. It was just truth. He was just bleeding truth. He was calm, cool, collected. So for the audience members at home, he was fighting for his life. And sometimes it takes that. I hope that it doesn't, for you to unlock your ultimate performance. If you can somehow gain access to that in your mind, to say that your life is on the line every single day and perform like he did, you're not only going to be free, but you're going to perform up to heights that you don't even realize. So let's talk about, took 5 minutes and then we drove really quickly back to, but explain to me your thought process. Did you think you were going to go to jail?
No, not at all. When they told me hey, this was fast, my attorneys were kind of freaking out because apparently when it's fast, it's usually negative. But I already knew. I was no, I'm good. We're solid here. And I was really actually relieved that it was quick. So driving down there, I was you know what, it's good. And just feeling a sense of peace that you were talking about, I 100% felt. There's a couple times in this whole process where God just put his hand on my back and absolutely told me hey, I've got you. Do not worry. And I actually received that, and one of those was sitting in an interrogation room. And after the third accusation, they pulled me up to this interrogation room where I've taken people, which is the heavy hitter room. You're chained to the table. We're going to go out. It's hotter than usual. There's a sticky table, everything that you see on the police documentaries, or movies. That's where I was when I'm used to being in the back, watching the teleprompter or the actual TV, watching these guys. I was sitting there. This detective comes in, sits down, and tries to interrogate me for the third time now. And I just tell him like, hey man, I'm not really too worried. Go ahead and call my attorney. And I get one phone call, tell Taylor, hey, my wife, it's going to be okay. Really. Like, I love you and we'll get through this. And then also seeing that same detective hear me talk to my wife so calmly like that, I know that did a number on him, because he was grilling me, trying to use every tactic in the book to make me feel scared, defenseless, like get me to say something. Every tactic in the book he did, but it wasn't fazing me whatsoever. And then I know that his demeanor changed right when he heard me talk to my wife. Then he started being like, oh shoot, that happened there. God's hand was on my back there, because I didn't reach across the table and try and put him on the ground, basically. And then also right at the reading of guilty, not guilty, that 100%, like, I was like, huh, dude, this is over. Like, I already know. And then obviously they read not guilty, turned around and went straight to my wife. So,
yeah, I remember for some, I was with my uncle and we were all racing, but somehow we were the last truck to get there. And we got stuck in the freaking elevator. And this is, during 30 minutes to get there. And my uncle and I were the last people to enter. And my must have been in like SVT. My heart rate was spiking. And then I walked in, but it was already said. And you looked around and you gave me this. And
I remember just coming up and hugging you. Like, I was like, hey, it's done. We're good. Like, it's legitimately over. There's nothing to come back and bite me in the butt anymore. Let's go up and get this ankle monitor off me. Let's go home.
Now that do you have anything else to cover in regards to trial? Sorry, I know getting emotional, I need to get it back together. It's still real for me. It's still, even though it's in the past, but once you start talking about it, it's still real, right? Still those things happen. And the thing that gets me is this still happening in our country today, specifically for people who haven't done anything wrong. So that's why I get kind of passionate about it. But talk to me about today, what you have done since being a free man to today.
Yeah, we actually picked up and moved from Arizona to Colorado. And we went from our couple acre home, equestrian center, super nice in Queen Creek, to a pretty large ranch now. We breed performance horses. I've got a couple of businesses. I just used everything that I learned that God has given me to push into performance, honestly. I would say I am one of the 1%ers now, which is insane to think about. Like, okay, I didn't even think that I could be having this type of income, this type of life, having my family. I've got 2 kids now, 2 under 2. And we've got horses that are in training at the 4-6 ranch. Like, we've got multiple businesses that are just cranking out, like not just money and funds, but we're able to pour back into not just our community, but surrounding areas, into Mexico. Like, there was structures built in Mexico from funds that I was able to put out even just last month. We head up like the FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, where we have a group of 35 kids that we pour into every week. There's small groups that I lead, where men's marriages have been changed, where just businesses has been changed and mindsets have been changed, and it's been just leaching out farther than you would even imagine. And it's just from the lessons that I've learned through my trials and tribulations. The Bible says, count it great joy, my brothers and sisters, when you encounter great trials. And I mean, I see now, like, I can count it great joy. I mean, I wasn't very joyful then, but any time that something happens now, man, I actually do count it great joy. I am joyful, because it's like, okay, what am I going to learn from this? What's going to happen? What's going to come from this? And I mean, I'm a part of this really awesome mastermind called Rise Up Kings. They did a number on me where it definitely kicked me into gear after moving to Colorado, into the performance mindset, and really executing from then on. You know, like I've got a construction company, I've got a sales and marketing company, we have a supplement company, and men's health now you're getting into. It's freaking awesome. And I have people like asking me to consult and looking at businesses, and I'm able to go through just even P&Ls and help people with their situations and sit there in the seat with them, and start, I don't know, acting like a captain, basically. It's awesome. So all these things, I mean, it just all worked together for the good, you know? So there's a lot going on for sure.
What do you think your number one main venture is
right now? Moving forward, the Key Performance Institute, I would say.
Can you talk to us about it?
Yeah. It's a mastermind. It's a less expensive mastermind. It's faith-based, men. You don't have to be in business. You don't have to have a certain pedigree or anything to get in. It's a lower cost subscription per year to get into, or month to get into, for just brotherhood. So the people that you surround yourself with really matter. So your associations.
Sure.
And if you get your inner circle to be high performing individuals as well, man, you start being a threat, right? And taking that all in, really, I mean, even you being on the fitness side of things for my guys, or our pastors being on the faith side of things, and really teaching these guys about this type of performance mindset and breaking down biblical information of how to be a godly man. You know, like this day and age, like it gets harder and harder to actually hold that line of biblical masculinity. It's just harder, you know?
Sure.
So I'll just leave it there. Key Performance Institute. It's my main focus right now I think that's the best vessel for me to make kingdom impact
and serve.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, all of my companies do basically tithe through them. So they always give back. Alignment, my sales and marketing has a 501c3 that we donate through as well. So everything is just a tool. I mean, our businesses are tools for the kingdom of God. So
this podcast is obviously for males and females, but for the males out there interested in something like that, how can they reach you?
Yeah. So reach out to my socials. So Kingdom Closer. I've written a book, Kingdom Closer. It's mastering sales technique through biblical principles. You know how shady deals get when it's in sales and everything, mostly marketing and sales. I really want to hold that line, kind of pull it back from everyone where they've pushed towards like the Andrew Tates. They kind of did a hard correct into that, saying like, hey, good correction, but we're almost there. You know, let's pull the reins back. You know, we don't need to be having sex with multiple women or doing like that kind of stuff. Right. So check me out on Facebook, Instagram, look at the website, the Key Performance Institute. That's going to be, you can just look that up online. They'll be able to find it pretty easily. Reach out to me anytime too. On my socials, I'm pretty active. So
just Kingdom Closer, and we'll put that down in the captions as well. So kind of closing this thing off,
and
do you have anything
book,
else? Oh, the book too. What's the book called?
Yeah, it's Kingdom Closer.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the book. Pretty easy.
There might be two people out there, but that's okay. Those two people will be matter. Mom and dad.
Yeah, it'll be later on, right? When you'll just resurface this.
Yeah, exactly. Like repost once we have some followers.
No, your trials that you go through are what's going to shape you in life. Use those and hone into them so that you can actually learn from them, really. I would not have been where I am today if I just kept on the same path. I'd probably be either dead in prison or just not living the life that I am right now. So right now it's full of purpose, dedication, and I've got a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, man. And she is like hands down the best ever. So it's like my life right now, 100% attributed to the things that I've gone through in my past.
Well, I think that's about covers it. I told you guys it was going to be one heck of a story. Hope you guys got a lot out of this. Thank you so much. And hey, if you yourself are a high performer and want to be on this podcast, please reach out to me. I want to talk to you. I want to know the way you think, your thought processes, and I think other people can gain exposure from your story. So if that's you, please hit me up. Come to Scottsdale. We'll be right here in the studio. And welcome to the Dr. Pena podcast, the performance standard. Have a great day, everybody.
This is the Dr. Pena podcast, where high performers come to raise the standard.